Brap. Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome to TST Garage. In this episode, we have the first generation Grom here with us in the studio, and we will be showing you how to install the newly released Toce exhaust on this little machine. The Toce exhaust gets mounted undertail here. It's available in a natural stainless steel color or black powder coated mid-pipe variant, and it really improves the look of the bike, and it sounds really, really mean. It really takes this little bike from sounding meek and innocent and makes it sound like a much bigger bike. It's really incredible. This is the only exhaust that will provide you with this sort of styling, quality aluminum construction, signature Toce look, black powder coat, signature Toce emblem, single inlet, double outlet. Enables you to retain or remove the baffles. If you want to ditch the baffles, you just take off these 4 acorn nuts, take out the baffles, and now you have a straight pipe. Very loud in that configuration. I don't recommend it myself. It's a little bit too loud for me, but it's your choice. Exhaust comes with everything you need to mount it, springs, fasteners, and it mounts to some of the stock locations that are available on the frame. For every one of these units, you might wonder how to mount a license plate on the setup. We will include a license plate bracket with all the hardware necessary to attach it. It's really simple. The installation takes just a couple minutes. Quick transformation, great sound. Follow along, let's get started. All right, so to begin the process, we will remove this shroud. Single fastener. And just slips off. Now we can remove this fastener, and also loosen up the exhaust clamp that tightens the rear section of the exhaust to the header. Once these fasteners are out, this guy can just be rotated out and taken off. In this next step, we will remove this heat guard from the header section and now start disassembling the header portion of the exhaust from the head and then from the frame. We will retain these fasteners we just took off to be reused with the new exhaust. And now that we have the whole exhaust off, I'm going to weigh it for you guys and compare the weights of the stocker and the Toce exhaust. Let's power up our scale and give this bad boy a try. There we go, 11 pounds, 2 ounces. £5 pounds, 8 ounces. So roughly half the weight, a little bit more than half the weight. This will afford you really nice weight savings on your bike and give you that style you're after. One thing I want to mention before we continue with the installation is that if you ever decide to go with a 2017 or later Grom, this is the same exact exhaust that fits on that bike. So if you're upgrading your bike, you can just take this exhaust with you and it goes on that bike just the same as on this bike. So let's get back to the bike, turn some wrenches. Okay, before we make it to the next step, I wanted to say a few words and differentiate the 2 different kinds of installations that are possible on this bike. This particular motorcycle is equipped with our TST Industries undertail, fender eliminator, integrated taillight setup, and the installation method will vary slightly from all the other bikes that still have the OEM components. The OEM components do not require any special steps, and the installation makes use of the shorter bolts provided in the kit. You'll just skip the steps I'm going to show that are specific to our setup, and the rest is pretty simple to follow. All right, so now I'll show you guys the few steps that are required that are specific to our undertail and the Toce exhaust installation together, and then we'll move on. All right, so of our installation. It will be necessary to remove the undertail from the bike. So let's do that now. Just gonna leave the taillight hanging in there. Hopefully it can support itself. All right. Now these holes here, they mount the undertail to the subframe, and they also mount the taillight bosses to the whole assembly as well. These are made of Delrin, so our M8 screws will go through just by turning them in, and that'll happen from the top. But we need to ensure that the flange of the mounting hanger here can actually penetrate inside through the undertail. So these holes will need to be opened up to 11 millimeters or 7/16, depending on whether or not you're using metric. I'm going to use a 7/16 drill bit. If you're doing this before you assemble this whole kit onto the bike, it's easier just to do it before you assemble it. Okay, one is done. I'm going to make sure that it'll fit over our bosses, and in fact it does. So let's do the other one. Now you are drilling aluminum, so you want to drill a little bit and then break the chip and let it fall off. All right. Looks like we are good here. Let's test it out again. Everything lines up nicely, and we're good to proceed to the reassembly. All right. Everything looks good here. I'm going to take the old fasteners that came out of this system and use one just to have a placeholder here, because we're going to start with the header portion first, and then we're going to attach the canister at the end. So now the system's self-supporting. We can move on to the rest of the piping here. I'm going to install the piping and then the canister in the end. All right, so I'm going to show you guys the easiest way to install this through the swing arm. You see here, we just have the L bend, and then we have a bunch of compound bends that go towards the canister. You flip it over this way and get it through the swing arm and rotate it clockwise. That will dodge all of the interfering geometry. And then we'll insert the header portion into this rear section, get the flange up by the head, get the stud nuts threaded on by hand, and then down here, using one of the screws that we took out from the OEM setup, I'm going to get this in place, threaded up, also not tightened. We want to have adjustability for fine tuning of the placement. All right, so now we can go on to this part. We will need to insert the canister onto the mid pipe here, align it with our undertail, and drop the longer screws that are provided for you through the top, get them in through the Delrin components that hold the tail light, and then thread it into these inserts on the bottom of this rubber suspension system for the exhaust. Do that now. You have to be patient with all these steps because you don't want to scratch up your nice anodized aluminum undertail. So patience here is the key. Here we go. All right, using the longer screws from the kit, we'll get those threaded into the Delrin components up top. And once you feel the thread engage, you want to make sure that you still leave some adjustability here, and perform the same step on the other side. Whoa. So if this happens, if this part comes out from the bottom of the suspension system, you can just push it right back up in there and then engage your thread into it. Okay. Now we can actually perform the final tightening here on these threaded connections. I'm going to be using a torque wrench to get this tightened to the specific torque spec. You also need to make sure that the flange is parallel to the head. Now let's get our springs in place. The best tool for this is a spring puller, obviously. If you don't have one of those, locking pliers can work, but I would advise you to use some sort of eye protection so that in the event the spring comes off from the plier, it doesn't hit you in the eye. All right, now, last couple steps. We just need to make sure everything's aligned in the back before we tighten everything down. I think I'm good here. Now, make sure you don't over tighten these connections. You are sandwiching Delrin steel and aluminum together. The Delrin will preload with a good amount of force and prevent your screws and nuts from vibrating off. You don't want to over tighten it because it is a Delrin plastic and it will smush and you will damage it. All right, let's wipe down our piping. This is not a crucial step, but for those of you guys that don't want to end up with stains all over your new exhaust, you will need to wipe off the grease that might have transferred to the pipes from your hands and touching any other part around your shop. It will bake in and they will become permanent. So this is a nice step that ensures that you have a nice clean exhaust for its lifetime. All right, let's crank this puppy up. All right. These seats never work with me. All right, we're done. I'm gonna take this puppy outside, ride it around the block, see what it sounds like outside. In here, it sounds awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys will consider checking out our website, TSTindustries.com. We have a bunch of these cool parts ready to ship to you. It's TSTindustries.com. Check us out on Facebook too. And I'm out of here. I'm gonna go ride.